What a wild day in the markets. Over 8 to 10 billion liquidated, the biggest in crypto history. And now a huge bounce. Maybe some coins up 30, 50% on average. Guys, if you remember over the past week, I did make some videos and also some Twitter updates. So make sure you're following me on all social media platforms. You can see over here is my name. But let me bring you towards this actual tweet over here on the 28th of January. I was essentially showing this chart saying that it was great that Bitcoin bounced from 100k in the end, holding it, but until it breaks 106 to 108k, until that's broken, there is still a risk of pumping into it, rolling over, losing 100k, and heading down to the range lows. And as you can see before and after over here, in the end, it did hold 100k. It pumped up into 106, 108k. I readjusted the box after, but we can see it went well over 106k. And then, of course, eventually lost 100, meaning that it needed to come back down to where all the longs were. What has happened since that moment is we've seen a market bounce, and this is exceptional. But there are many steps that still need to be fulfilled, and until then, there's still risk of lower. So what happened? What needs to happen next? So the level that we lost, 100k, that initiated that dump, that's what we need to see reclaimed. We don't want that now confirmed as resistance. That would then suggest all the bounces we're currently seeing are fake. We do not want that to be the case. I want the market to be bullish, and for the market to flip bullish once again, we need Bitcoin to reclaim 100k, but then also break through. Now the levels have adjusted a little bit, 105 to 107. You can still use up to 108. That's totally fine. But with this new high and low, I've got a new set of fibs, and it's giving me all the key levels. So I've marked them out all for you. So ultimately, this is your guide. Mark these levels on your chart. Please recognize that under 100k, the gains given today will be given straight back if we fail to close above 100k. As we can see, there's a build up of moving averages as well. So we're getting the bounce because we've reset the EMAs similarly to this area over here, dumping into them and then reacting to them and getting a bounce. And we are getting that bounce after tapping into these EMAs. But it's important to reclaim the shorter ones over here. You can see it reclaim them. We need to see that be the case. If we're now just pumping into it, we're rolling back over, filling in the wick. And that brings a much higher likelihood of, well, at least bumps up the probabilities of a move that potentially loses this area as support. So the way to avoid a dump beneath this, or a dump into this area, to avoid that, we need to see Bitcoin reclaiming 100k. It's still not in the clear, unfortunately, at that point. We could pump all the way as high as 105, 107, and still do that move down. So really need to be careful. I have DCA'd into coins that I think are strong at the moment. I've also sold some projects, but there are projects that I really believe will be fine. I think that Bitcoin is just in a correction. I just think that there are also a lot of projects out there that will not return to those highs that were set back in March last year. There's just too many coins. I remember that I do believe a lot will continue higher and higher. Bitcoin's fine. Those US based tokens are fine, like your XRP, HBAR, Algo. We can go on and on and on. I think smart contract coins like Solana, Sui are fine. Dexes are fine. Stuff like that. There are things that will take advantage of Bitcoin being green, right? There are other narratives that need a little bit more than just that. So I've just doubled down on what I think is easier to move when we see a green Bitcoin like we have today. And so far so good. We just don't want those gains to be given back, unfortunately, and that can definitely still be the case even if we reclaim all moving averages. Because at the point of reclaiming all moving averages, that's telling us we're in an uptrend, and so higher highs, a new all-time high would be expected over this area over here. That's what happens. That's what's meant to happen when you react to the moving averages as support. You put in a new high. There you go. That's a nice small example. But we can see in the past as well, there was a moment we lost it. Once it had been reclaimed, we made a new high. So same thing again. We're expecting to make a new high. But if we start rolling over from this point and then losing this support, we'd have to hope that it's just a deviation for continuation high. I think even if that plays out, that dump that loses 90k plays out, I still think it's just a correction and we go higher. I don't think this is the top 4 Bitcoin, even though there will be some altcoins out there that might not continue higher in the end. Most will. I already explained the narratives that I think will be totally fine and less affected. Because if the market is green, people are building. They're building usually now on Solana, or the up and coming one is Sui. There are many other options, of course, but those have been the most hyped up this full cycle. So those will take advantage, and then of course the dexes or coins built on them pretty much. So yeah, that's it from me today. Make sure you keep your eye on Bitcoin over the altcoins. The altcoins they dumped a lot and then they pumped a lot, but Bitcoin was actually quite stable throughout this. Of course, it did dump. I was one of the earliest to call that, but it's not necessarily over. It was quite not that deep though for Bitcoin from the highs. It's only down 16%, only down 10% at the moment. So really stable in comparison to the rest of the market. Solana was very surprising also. We can see that, it's fully retraced that dump, but it only went down 15%, whereas there were some coins getting killed, minus 30, minus 50% in the early hours of this daily candle. It looks like it has reversed, but we know what Bitcoin needs to do going forward. I really don't like when I see massive wicks like this to the downside. Of course, it's a huge buy signal short term, but once we start tackling key areas of resistance here or either here, its goal is always to get pulled into this area like a magnet, dumped down into them. If it doesn't lose the low, then just reverses back up. But yeah, that's what can happen from these 2 key levels over here. Make sure on your way out to like, subscribe, comment, and share to bump up the algorithm so we can get to 10k subscribers as soon as possible. As you see down below, there's a whole bunch of education. If you want to learn how to use the charts and the fibs just like me, then use those links down below in the pinned comment section of this update. Cheers, everyone.